Even if you are diligently fasting every single day, maybe you're skipping breakfast and lunch, hoping to finally lose that stubborn weight and feel more energetic, you could still be failing. And it's because of one critical overlooked mistake. Now, so many experts tell you that the magic is in the fasting window, that as long as you don't eat for a certain number of hours, you're doing everything right. But that is dangerously misleading. The real secret to unlocking your body's fat-burning potential isn't just about the hours you don't eat. It's about what you do the moment you start eating again. But here is the most shocking part. This mistake is so common, even major scientific studies make it completely ruining their results and leaving you more confused than ever. So, if you've been feeling that hunger, pushing through it with discipline, only to see the scale refuse to budge, I need you to listen very closely. Before we go any further, if this sounds even a little bit familiar, please let me know in the comments where you're watching from. It's always encouraging to know we're in this together. And be sure to press that like button and subscribe, because what you're about to learn will change the way you see fasting forever. Alright, let's get right to the heart of it. The single biggest mistake, the one that I see time and time again, the one that undermines all of your good effort, is eating too much when you start eating again. It is as simple as that. All the discipline you muster during the day, all the hunger pangs you patiently wait out, all the cups of tea you drink to tide you over, all of that wonderful work can be completely undone in a single sitting. It's the most common pitfall, and it's the most heartbreaking because it happens right at the finish line. People feel they've earned a great reward, a feast, a celebration for their fasting. But in doing so, they misunderstand the very reason we fast in the first place. This isn't just a simple case of overeating. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of what is truly happening inside your body when you give it a rest from food. It's a biological misstep that effectively closes the door on the very results you are trying to achieve. To truly grasp why this is such a critical error, we need to step back and look at the beautiful, intelligent design of the human body. We need to understand the conversation that's happening between your food and your hormones. Because once you understand that language, everything changes. You stop fighting your body and you start working with it. And that, my friends, is where the real magic happens. So let's begin by talking about what fasting truly is. We must reframe our thinking. Fasting is not about starving yourself. It is not about deprivation or punishment. It is about something much more elegant. It's about switching your body's fuel source. Imagine your body is like a hybrid car that can run on two different types of fuel. The first type of fuel is the food you put in your mouth. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the fuel your body prefers to use first because it's right there readily available. When you eat a meal, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, your body gets to work breaking it down into energy to fuel your immediate needs. To manage this influx of energy, your body releases a very important hormone. That hormone is called insulin. You can think of insulin as the body's traffic cop for energy. When you eat, especially carbohydrates and sugars, your blood sugar rises. Insulin's job is to direct that sugar out of your bloodstream and into your cells to be used for energy. This is a good thing. It's a vital process. But insulin does more than that. If you provide more energy than your body needs at that very moment, insulin directs the excess to be stored for later. It is a master of storage, and its favorite place to store that extra energy is in your fat cells. So when insulin is high, its main message to your body is very clear. Store energy. We have plenty coming in. So save some for a rainy day. Store fat. While insulin is on duty, another process is put on hold. Your body cannot effectively burn its stored fat while it's in fat-storing mode. The two signals are opposites. You are either storing fat or you are burning fat. You cannot do both at the same time. Now what happens when you fast? When you stop eating for a period of time, you are no longer providing that constant stream of fuel from your mouth. There's no rise in blood sugar. So the pancreas doesn't need to send out the traffic cop. The insulin levels in your blood begin to fall. And as insulin levels fall, a new message is sent throughout your body. The message is this: there is no fuel coming in from the outside. It is time to use the fuel we have so carefully stored away. This is the switch. This is the entire point of fasting. Low insulin is the key that unlocks your fat stores. It tells your body to begin the process of taking that stored body fat, breaking it down, and converting it back into usable energy. Your body is designed to do this. It is a natural, beautiful survival mechanism that allowed our ancestors to thrive between hunts or harvests. This brings us to the most helpful analogy I have ever found for explaining this process, especially for understanding why eating too much after a fast is so counterproductive. Think of your body fat as money that you have saved in a bank account. It's your energy savings. The food you eat is like the cash you have in your wallet. It's for immediate spending. Now, insulin is the bank teller. When you are constantly eating, say 3 meals a day plus snacks in between, it's like you're constantly going to the bank to make deposits. The bank teller insulin is always at the counter busy processing these deposits. And because the teller is always there, always busy with incoming cash, the vault where your savings are kept remains securely locked. You can't make a withdrawal. You can only spend the cash in your wallet. Even if you have millions saved in the vault, you can't access it as long as the teller is busy with deposits. This is why someone can feel tired and hungry, even if they're carrying excess body weight. They have plenty of energy stored in their vault, but their high insulin levels are keeping the vault door locked. They can only run on the cash in their wallet, and when that runs out, they feel a crash and an urge to eat again, starting the whole cycle over. When you fast, you stop making deposits. The line at the bank clears out. The bank teller insulin gets to go on a break. And when the teller steps away from the counter, the vault opens. For the first time, you can access your savings account. Your body can finally go into its fat stores and start making withdrawals to pay for its energy needs. This is the state where you start to burn body fat. You are finally using the second type of fuel. The fuel that was stored away for exactly this purpose. So here is the crucial part. Let's say you have fasted for 16, maybe 18 hours. Your insulin is low. The vault is wide open. Your body is happily using its own stored fat for energy. Then your eating window arrives. You sit down for your one meal of the day. If you eat a normal, sensible, nourishing meal, you will provide enough energy for your immediate needs. You make a reasonable deposit, the bank teller will come back to the counter for a little while. The vault will temporarily close and your body will use the food you just ate. And that's perfectly fine because you didn't overdo it. Your body will soon finish using that meal's energy. Insulin will fall again and the vault will reopen. But what happens if you make the number one mistake? What happens if you eat too much? What if you decide that because you skipped 2 meals, you are now entitled to eat the equivalent of 3 or 4 meals all at once? You sit down and you eat a massive portion, far more than your body needs at that moment. This creates a huge surge of blood sugar and the pancreas panics. It sends out an army of bank tellers, a huge rush of insulin to deal with this enormous deposit. The insulin works frantically to shove all that excess energy into storage as quickly as possible. The vault isn't just closed, it's slammed shut, double-bolted, and barricaded. The signal to store fat is now screaming throughout your body. And because you put so much fuel in, your body will be running on that cash in the wallet for a very, very long time. It will take many, many hours for your body to burn through that huge meal. And until it does, insulin will remain high and the vault to your fat stores will remain locked. You have effectively erased all the benefits of the fasting period. You spent hours patiently waiting for the vault to open only to slam it shut the moment it did. This is the mistake. It turns a beautiful fat-burning process into a simple and often aggressive fattering event. Now, a very common question I get is this. People will say, "But Barbara, wouldn't it be easier to just cut a few calories from each meal and eat 6 small meals a day? Isn't that the same thing?" It's a very logical question, but based on what we now understand about insulin, the answer is a resounding no. It is not the same thing. In fact, it can be one of the worst things you can do if you want to burn body fat. Remember our bank analogy. If you eat 6 times a day, even if the meals are small, you're making 6 small deposits. You are keeping that bank tiller at the counter all day long. From the moment you have your breakfast to your mid-morning snack to your lunch, your afternoon snack, your dinner, and maybe a little something before bed, insulin is constantly being released. It never gets a chance to fall low enough for long enough for the vault to truly open. You are keeping your body in a constant state of fat storage. It might be a slow trickle of storage, but it's storage nonetheless. Your body never gets the signal to switch fuel sources. It becomes very good at burning what you eat, but it forgets how to burn the fat you are carrying. This is why so many people who follow the Gray's all-day advice feel like they are constantly fighting hunger and never see results. They are trapped in a cycle of high insulin, unable to access their own energy savings. Fasting, on the other hand, is specifically designed to break that cycle. It is a deliberate period of rest from eating, designed to lower insulin and finally open the vault. It's fascinating and a little bit sad to see how this fundamental misunderstanding has even made its way into formal scientific research. The very studies that are supposed to guide us often make the same mistake we've been talking about, which leads to confusing and misleading headlines in the news. Let's look at one prominent example. There was a big study published in a very prestigious medical journal, the Journal of the American Medical Association, back in 2017. It was what we call a randomized controlled trial, the gold standard of research. They took a group of people and split them into two groups. One group was assigned to a diet of continuous calorie restriction. They were told to eat about 75% of their normal daily calories every single day. So if they normally ate 2,000 calories, they were now eating 1,500. Simple enough. The other group was put on an alternate day fasting plan on their fast day. They were only allowed to eat a very small amount, about 25% of their normal intake. But here is the critical flaw in the study's design. On the day after their fast day, the fasting group was instructed to eat 125% of their normal calories. They were specifically told to overeat. Let's just pause and think about that. The researchers were telling people to deliberately make the number one mistake. They were building the error right into the scientific protocol. They wanted to make sure that over 2 days, the total calories for both groups were roughly the same. It makes sense from a purely mathematical calorie in, calorie out perspective, but it makes absolutely no sense from a hormonal perspective. The entire point of a fast day is to lower insulin and allow your body to tap into its own fat stores. It's supposed to be a day where your body eats its own body fat for fuel. So to then tell someone to gorge themselves the next day is completely counterintuitive. You're essentially telling them to replace all the body fat they just burned and maybe even store a little extra. You're filling the tank right back up the moment it starts to get empty. So what do you think happened? Exactly what you would predict. At the end of the study, the researchers found that there was no significant difference in weight loss between the two groups. And the conclusion that made all the headlines was that alternate day fasting is no better than simple calorie restriction. But the study wasn't really testing fasting in the way it should be practiced for health. It was testing a flawed version of fasting in a real clinical setting. In the real world, I would never ever tell a person to deliberately overeat on their non-fasting days. That defeats the entire purpose. It's like taking 2 steps forward and 2 steps back. You work hard to create that energy deficit and then you immediately erase it. The study was doomed to fail from the start because its design was based on a misunderstanding of the body's hormonal response to food. It's a classic case of looking only at the numbers, the calories, and completely ignoring the biological signals that truly govern weight loss. And this wasn't an isolated incident. We saw a similar issue in another more recent study also published in the same respected journal. This one looked at the popular 16-to-8 method of fasting, where you fast for 16 hours a day and eat all your meals within an 8-hour window. Again, they took a group of people and randomized them. The fasting group was instructed to follow a 16-to-8 schedule. But here is the flaw in this one. During their 8-hour eating window, they were allowed to eat ad libitum. That's a Latin term that essentially means eat whatever you want and as much as you want. There were no guidelines on what to eat or how much to eat. They could have eaten ice cream, cookies, cake, and potato chips for 8 hours straight if they wanted to. The control group, the group they were being compared against, was instructed to eat 3 structured balanced meals a day. Now, can you see the problem here? This study wasn't just comparing fasting to non-fasting. It was also unintentionally comparing an unstructured diet of whatever you want to a structured diet of balanced meals. It was confounding 2 different variables. We are all adults here. We know that if you want to lose weight and be healthy, you cannot live on a diet of cookies and brownies. The quality of the food you eat matters immensely. So in this study, you had the fasting group which was doing one thing right, restricting their eating window, but potentially doing another thing very wrong, which was eating unhealthy processed foods. It's like you have 2 levers you can pull to improve your health. One lever is what you eat. Pulling that lever means choosing whole, unprocessed, healthy foods. The other lever is when you eat. Pulling that lever means incorporating periods of fasting. To get the best result, you want to pull both levers. But in this study, they had one group that was pulling the when you eat lever down, but they allowed the what to eat lever to be pushed all the way up. And again, what were the results? They found that the fasting group didn't lose significantly more weight than the control group. And the headlines once again proclaimed that intermittent fasting doesn't work. But it's not that fasting doesn't work. It's that fasting is not a magic pill that allows you to disregard all other principles of healthy living. You cannot fast for 16 hours and then eat junk for the other 8 and expect a miracle. It simply doesn't work that way. These studies, while well-intentioned, create so much confusion for the public because they fail to test fasting in a sensible real-world context. They create these artificial scenarios that no health expert would ever recommend, and then they draw broad conclusions based on the flawed results. This leads us to the most important part of our conversation. What is the right way to do it? What is the solution? It all comes down to a simple but profound shift in your mindset. The solution is to eat normally when you break your fast. You must stop thinking of the meal that breaks your fast as a reward or a chance to make up for lost time. Instead, I want you to reframe what happened during the fast. When you skipped breakfast and when you skipped lunch, you didn't deprive your body. You allowed your body to have a meal from its own pantry. Your body feasted on its own stored energy. It did exactly what it was designed to do. So when it's time for your dinner, you are not coming to the table with a massive deficit that needs to be refilled. Your body is already nourished. Your dinner is just the next scheduled meal. It should be a normal meal. Now what does NOM